We are going to start our work with the slider controls for height and weight for our BMI calculator. We are going to make the following kind of design. First, we'll go to our BMI calculator page, and there, let's add a frame and put it inside the grid.row equals 2 and grid.column equals 0. Then we'll use grid.column span equals 2 and set the corner radius of 15 units. Has shadow equals true and padding of 10 units. Now let's add a vertical stack layout. In the vertical stack layout, let's set the spacing of 10 units. Now, inside the vertical stack layout, let's add a label control with the text equals height centimeters, horizontal options to center, and font size equals body. Then we add the slider control. Here, we change the styles for this slider. First of all, let's change the thumb color of this slider. And here, we'll pass some custom color code. Now, the slider thumb color has been changed. Then, we'll change the minimum track color of this slider and the maximum track color of this slider. Anything on the right of the slider thumb is the maximum track, and anything on the left of the slider thumb is the minimum track. Let's change the colors. Okay, now the slider colors for minimum and maximum track have been changed. Now let's add a label control where we will display the slider value, and there we'll set horizontal options to center, font size to medium, and font attributes to bold. Now we need a data binding because when the user will change the slider, then we will display the value of the slider in this label control. So, first of all, we'll go to the slider and let's name it to slider height. Then we'll come in this label control, and there, let's add the text of this label equals and then use the data binding. We want to bind this slider value with this label control. Let's use the binding expression. Then we'll bind the source with the slider. So, we'll use source equals, and here we'll use the x colon reference and bind it with the slider height. Okay. Right after that in the device, we'll see the Microsoft Mavi Control slider text. But we want to see the value of the slider here. So, in this label, we'll also set path equals value. Now, this time, we'll see the value as we'll move the slider position. Now there is a problem here in this slider. We'll only get the values from 0 to 1, but we want to get the values from 0 to 250. We'll allow the user to pick the height from 0 to 250 centimeters. In this slider control, we'll set the minimum value equals 0 and maximum value equals 250 units. Now, if we'll run this application again, then we'll see the slider value from 0 to 250. But we'll also see the value in decimal formats. we don't want the value in decimal format. So in the label, where we have used the data binding, we'll use the string format equals. And here, we'll pass 0:F0. This will remove the decimal value from the slider. Now the slider will not display the decimal values. Now, what we want is, when the user will open the application, then by default, he'll see the slider position at value 100. Currently, the slider default value is 0. So, we'll set the value equals 100. Now, when the user will run their application, then the default value of the slider will be 100. Alright, just like the slider for height, we'll add the slider for weight. We'll copy this text and paste it here. Now, we'll change the grid.row equals 3. Then, we'll change the text of this label to weight kilograms. Right after that, we'll rename this slider to slider weight. Then, we'll bind the text of this label with slider weight. The maximum weight the user can select from our BMI slider will be 200 kilograms. So, we'll change the slider maximum value to 200. And the default value of the slider will be 50. So, we'll change it to 50. Alright. Now after this frame, we'll add a button control and put this in grid.row equals 4 and grid.column equals 0. Then, use the grid.column span equals 2. Now set the text equals calculate your BMI, font size of medium, padding of 20 units, font attributes equal bold, vertical options to end and expand, corner radius of 15 units, and then we'll set the following background color. Alright, the design part of our BMI calculator has been completed. Now, in the next lesson, we'll start our work with the code behind file to work with the BMI calculator functionality. I'll see you in the next lesson.